Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. I hope you're all well. So, maybe some of you did know and some of you didn't know. I've been putting it in the description box of my videos as of late, but I now have a video editor named John Hollingworth, who is Dave's brother. He's a great dude. I've known him for many years and he's a great video editor, and he helps me out with a lot of the video demos you see on this channel now and just a lot of other stuff basically. And he asked me a couple of weeks ago, why do you not do your Q&A videos anymore, your Ask the FRO videos? And I didn't really have a good answer. I was like, I don't know really, I just kind of stopped making them. I guess I just got distracted and went on to other things. And he was like, well, if I was to collate a load of questions that I've seen across YouTube videos, why don't you do some more? So lo and behold, we now have a new Ask the FRO video because John told me to do it. So thanks, John. So what I'm going to do, I've got all the questions on my phone. I'm going to answer some for you, and John will put a little annotation. Well, you'll see the question box picture up at the bottom. So let's go ahead and start the Q&A. So this first question is one that was posted on my trip to Japan video, and it's from Chaosware, and he says, damn, you took some really nice shot. What camera are you using? Thank you very much, dude. If any of you want to know what cameras I now use, I use the Sony a7 III and the a7S II. I'm going to upgrade the a7S II to the a7S III when it comes out, but I got turned on to the Sony gear a couple of years ago actually from one of Rob's friends, and they're apparently really good in low light, so I thought I'd check it out. Picked up the a7S II and I was blown away with how good they are in low light situations. If any of you guys are into videography or photography, you should definitely check out the Sony Alpha series. They've done a7S, a7R, which is aimed at photo, a7S is aimed at video, and I've got the a7 III, which I did a lot of research on, and it's just a brilliant camera. So I use that, and again, you've seen the a7S II whenever I do like close-ups of the guitar when I'm playing. And the lenses, I use a Sony G Master 1635 on this, and I also have a G Master 2470 on the other camera. I just think they're amazing. They're really, really good. I think the quality looks great. I shot Ben's drum playthrough with them. I shot my friend Liam from Black Peaks. I shot his drum playthrough with them, and I took these. I take this camera everywhere I go. So there you go. Sony Alpha series. Check them out. Got another question from the same video, and that is from the user AGN15. He says, hey Rabea, would you recommend a week holiday in Japan? I always hear mixed opinions. So we were there for, roughly about a week, and although we spent time in Hamamatsu at the Boss factory, we then went across to Tokyo. I've always wanted to go to Tokyo since I was a kid, and I was just blown away. I would definitely recommend it. I think the one thing I took away from it was people are really friendly everywhere. Everyone's smiling, and it's so stimulating. And I've never seen that kind of place before. You know, me and Rob went to Korea, to Seoul, and it's kind of similar, but not, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know, similar vibe. Like, there's a lot of neon lights and stuff, but Tokyo is just ram-packed full of people. It's a bit more touristy, but the bars are cool. We went to lots of cool bars. I'm definitely going back, put it that way. So I'd recommend it. If you want to go somewhere where there's all sorts to do, there's always something happening. Even though I couldn't understand anything, I didn't feel quite as alien as I did when I was in Korea. So yeah, it's really cool, and the food is good. There's another question actually on the same thread, which says, real question, how was being vegan in Japan? Going there next year, I'm almost certain that I'm screwed. My missus is also gluten intolerant, and she's double screwed. Any tips? That's from Luke Barnes. Being vegan there was not too bad because we had the dudes from Boss able to translate and chat to restaurants and say, look, this guy can't eat meat, dairy, all that stuff. And to be fair, like, we went to places that did kind of like noodle soups and ramen and hot pot and stuff, and there are some miso soups that don't use fish sauce, so you just have to be careful. I'm almost certain I probably end up accidentally eating some fish sauce somewhere because some stuff gets lost in translation, but generally speaking, it was pretty easy. And especially in Tokyo, there's a lot of Western influence on the food as well, so you can pretty much get by. I mean, if nothing else, I used to just get a bowl of rice, maybe a bit of soy sauce and some sesame sauce or something like that, and just mix it together. It's a pretty good stopgap. I didn't find it too hard, but then again, I'm not overly fussy with food, and I'm not overly precious about it. If it is literally a bowl of rice, then fine, I'll eat that. I don't really care. So yeah, thank you for those questions. So the next question was posted on the Toska Congress official music video, and it's from Frick EXE, and he says, "Y'all need a vocalist?" ? We auditioned vocalists for Toska when we first started out. We did want to get a singer, but we just didn't find anyone that fit the bill. We were looking for somebody that, I guess, encompassed our favourite singers, so guys like Ian Kenny from Carnival, Brandon Boyd, Chris Cornell, Corey Taylor. So it's a bit of a tall order. Maybe a bit of Devin as well. We have high standards when it comes to vocalists. We've not had the best luck with singers over the years in older bands and stuff. And Rob's fantastic in Dorje, but Toska's a very different beast. It's not something I think he'd be interested in doing. And we also wanted to do something different. I like the hard rock, gritty vocalists like Rob does, but I also love the kind of belted, clean, feelsy kind of Brandon Boyd, Ian Kenny vibes. So it's been pretty hard to find a singer that fit the bill. And although we've heard singers in some bands that were really good and fit really well, when they sang over our stuff, it was like, it just didn't work. So I'm not going to rule it out. Like, I don't think Toska will get a vocalist, but I definitely want to do another band with a vocalist of original material in a similar vein to Toska, probably less progressive. So if anybody is out there that does those kind of vocals and well, then please get in touch. So this is another question from the Congress music video from Doug Dixon. He says, any chance of a video with the band explaining their ideas behind the video? Amazing, well done guys. Thank you very much, Doug. So the idea behind the Congress music video was the idea that, so we met up with a company called Wild Stag that did some music videos for other bands like Black Peaks and some other dudes. We really, really liked their work. And originally the concept was, we said it's about inner turmoil. It's about somebody that's digesting the prospect of like failing and having to, lose everything, and then going from like anger to madness to sadness to hope and all these kind of emotions. And we were trying to like, how the hell do you like turn that into a music video narrative without vocals? So they were like, well, they sent through a brief that was like this girl strapped into a chair, and she's kind of like 11 almost from like Stranger Things, and she's like got the power to like, like give people revelations and stuff, epiphanies or whatever. And the idea would be like somebody was going to rob a bank and then like has a change of heart, and then like someone was in a fight or going to jump somebody or stab somebody and had a change of heart. But I wanted to be a bit more provocative, so we were like, I think rather than someone wanting to rob a bank, how about somebody going to blow something up in like a van? So the guy in the van is actually the editor. He's from Wild Stag, and he's the editor of the music video, but his name's Elge. And he is the sort of suicide bomber. And originally I said, what about if we had somebody outside a school with a rifle? But then we were like, whoa, that's a little bit too provocative. So that idea was quickly shunned. But then the idea of like a suicide bomber who's going to blow up this van, this car park, and then has this change of heart, and then like this girl that's going to commit suicide and drown herself and then have a change of heart. And you see the homeless guy trying to wake people up, and everyone's just so glued to their phones and so like just robotic and just antisocial, like the way it seems to be nowadays, with smartphones and all that. Everyone's less sociable. Anyway, that was the general idea, is that this girl is like able to see all this. She's all strapped into these machines, and she's been shown all this in the world, all this injustice and all this like hurt and like just badness, bad energy. And then she just basically just can't take it anymore, and she explodes, and it like makes everybody just change and stop what they're doing and wake up basically. And the reason that we're blindfolded is because we're almost just like aware, but like we're external to this story. We're kind of protected by it because we're providing the sort of the music. I don't really know. It's kind of like we were external to this whole story. We already know, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's not a great explanation, but hopefully it shed a bit of light on it. It's difficult when you're doing narratives and stories in music videos to try and make it all make sense, but I think it came off really well, and we're definitely going to be using Wild Stag again for future music videos. So this question again is on the Toska music video, and it's a guy called A Man, A Plan Recipes. And he says, can we get a Sound Like Toska soon? I'd love to do a Sound Like Toska, but I almost think most of the people that watch Sound Like, A, have no idea I'm in a band, and B, have no idea that, you know, like, why would they want to sound like Toska? It's just a bit of a, almost seems a bit self-indulgent and egotistical. And to be fair, anybody that watches my YouTube channel can see the gear I use and what I like to use, and I've used a very, very similar gear for a long time. It's not that I don't want to do it or I'm against it, I just don't know how well it would go down. I'm not sure how many people would actually enjoy it. So yeah, that's basically the reason. If you do want to see Sounds Like Toska, then post a comment in the comment section below. So this is a comment on my VX versus V4 video from Zachary Williams. He says, new drinking game, take a shot every time beer says in a nutshell lol. Thanks, Zachary. Well, in a nutshell is a phrase that I say a lot. One thing that, if you guys shoot music YouTube videos, you'll know this. Sometimes it's really hard to fill the gaps, and you end up doing these things habitually. Like, there's words that you end up using all the time, like basically, or for me it's basically, or in a nutshell, or, you know, I have these phrases that I always just say, like to be fair. I always say to be fair. There's loads, and you just kind of say it, you're not really thinking about it. It's kind of stupid. And the better guys, like Rob, never does that. Rob's really good on camera. He never ever has to reiterate or use these phrases to like fill in the gaps or try and... It's like sometimes when you see stand-up comedians where they'll just suddenly start laughing, it's because they're trying to think about what they're saying next so that they can go into the next sketch. It's not quite as intense as that, but it's a similar thing, thought process. You say that so that you have time to think about what you're trying to say next, because I don't script any of my demos or any of my videos. It's literally all just there and then, what I'm thinking, what I'm saying. The only stuff that sometimes I have to go over and refilm a few times is like the intros and the descriptions of some gear, because it's hard to remember all the features in one go. But when we're in the demo and I'm like doing the video, that's all just completely off the cuff, you know. So that's sometimes why I'll say in a nutshell, or to be fair, or basically. So in a nutshell, that is why I say in a nutshell. Okay, so John's very kindly pulled a lot of comments off Instagram, because I have an Instagram profile. If you don't know about it, then you can go and check it out. I post videos, little noodly guitar bits and photos of all sorts of stuff that's happening. So thank you to everyone that follows me. If you didn't know about it, you can go check it out. So I'm going to check out some comments here. So here we go. Here's a comment from Arindem_Wem. He says, do you notice any difference of better/inferior tracking on the 25.5 inch version of the Shuriken Variax when you play lower strings? I always wondered how the 25.5 inch would hold up against the 27 inch scale at lower tunings, even when it's happening digitally. So I use the Shuriken Variax guitars for FrogLeap with the Line 6 Helix. They're incredible. Highly recommend it if you need to do lots of different sounds, unique sounds in your set, or different tunings. They're absolutely groundbreaking, and I love it. And I'm very grateful for Line 6 taking me on board as an artist for that gig. So I used the 27 originally, the 27 inch guitar, and it was cool, but because I have to play things like A New Level by Pantera and a lot of the guitar solos, it was quite hard with the scale length being longer, and it doesn't really work. Like, you can't put like gauge 8 on and expect it to be easy to play. It's literally just the scale. It's difficult. So I spoke to Line 6 and found out they did a 25.5 inch version, so I got that. And to answer the question, it hasn't changed the tracking at all, because we always tune to drop D. So it's concert pitch and then we just drop D. and then all the tunings are handled with the Helix. So it didn't really make any difference. To be honest, the only difference it made was that it felt more like a normal guitar. And the tracking's fine, and the tracking's absolutely outstanding on those things. You just have to get used to there's a very, very mild tiny bit of latency, and I mean I'm talking like a split second. Like when you're recording in a studio or at home, you notice a very fractional tiny little latency, but it's really nothing that you don't even have to get used to it. It's just something that you'll notice immediately and go, oh, never mind, it's not even that bad, and you carry on, it's not a thing. And to be honest, we're on in-ears live as well, so the whole thing, it just works. And yeah, so I don't notice any problems with tuning stability. I think when I first did it, I tuned down to like drop C, and then I noticed it was acting weird because I think it wants to be in a standard tuning and then do the work itself rather than you giving it a halfway house. So if you do use Shuriken Variax or any Variax and you're doing tuning stuff, make sure you tune it to more or less a normal tuning and it should handle it fine. So yeah, thank you for that question. So this is the final question in this Q&A because there's so many questions that could go on all day. I'm going to do more of these now that John's able to, pull questions into a folder and I can pick them out. Thank you, John, once again. This is the last question, and this is another one from Instagram, and this is from Angelo Jason Turkey. I hope I said that right. He says, do you play your Relic more or is it just captured more? So that was a comment posted on a photo from the Toska tour we just did. And I took out my ML3 beers, the baritone and the normal 25.5, and my Relic. With Toska, I tend to use the Relic quite a lot live, and I don't really know why that is. I think it's just that was the guitar that we started Toska with, and I wrote a lot of the songs on that guitar. And it's the one that can take an absolute thrashing because it's just so battered. But I was alternating gigs between the ML3 beer and the Relic. I was just jumping between them to make my strings last longer, rather than having to, because I like to change my strings every gig because I sweat so much. So I figured if I've got two guitars in the same tuning, I'll use one for one gig, then one for the next, and so I don't have to use as many strings. And that worked pretty well. The baritone gets used every gig, and to be fair, it's really just how I feel at the time. Like sometimes I'll use the ML3 beer, depends on the song. Congress works better on that guitar because there's more unique tones, and all the newer stuff works better, but all the stuff on Ode to the Author is much more efficient to use the Relic because I just wrote it on that, so I know exactly what I'm doing there. It really doesn't make much difference, but that's what you've probably seen on Instagram was a lot of photos of me with the Relic, and that's because Max, our TM photographer, he had a routine every night, and he would get and film, take photos of me at certain points of the gig, and he had his own little routine going. If you're a photographer, I'm sure you know, and you go on tour with people, you do that kind of thing. So every time he got to me, I was more or less playing the Relic. That's probably why you saw that. But no, I'm not precious about which guitar I use live. I'm very attached to the Relic and the ML3 beers, so they get just as much attention as each other. So there you go. There is the first in a while Ask the FRO Q&A. Thank you very much for the questions. If you've got more questions you want to ask me, put them in the comment section below and I'll do my very best to answer them on the next one. Until then, I've been Rabea. I'll see you all very soon.